The Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own insight. This has been my favorite scripture, and there is a reason for that. Always when I was in high school attending a church, whenever I go to a summer retreat, before the meal, you have to memorize the verse. This has been my favorite verse because it was a very short verse that I can always memorize. And there are days, usually towards the very last day of the retreat, you will always get this long statement, almost a statement, not a verse, or a statement that you have to memorize before your nice meal. But in those times, because I already memorized this verse, I would use this against to the teachers. Well, teacher, in the Bible it says, trust in the Lord always, and lean not on my own understanding. And I would use it against the teacher for that reason, for that very reason. I trust God that I may have the meal right now. Because it said, I shall not rely on my own understanding. I can memorize this, and this is the understanding. But I trust God that God will give me the food right now. You know how it works? So I did that. But why is that important for us today? Trusting God. Because of many things. But I'll share with you 4 things why we're not good at trusting God. First, we are very self-sufficient. We're very self-sufficient. We know what to do whenever we're in trouble. And secondly, we have friends that are around us we can turn to. If we get into trouble, we can immediately turn to our friends and we can seek help. And most likely he or she or they will help us. And the third part that we're not good with trusting God is we'll feel distant. We feel distant. How many of you really feel the presence of God when you're in a time of trouble? No. You feel distant. When you're stuck in the middle of a trouble, you feel very distant from God. How can I trust God in this hardship? How can I trust God in this struggle? Which is very normal. And I don't blame you, because in the Bible, Job, as you heard, as some of you may have read, Job lost his families, all his properties. But he said this, though God will slay me, I will trust in him. Can you believe that? Job lost his entire family members, his wives and his children, and his material blessings, his house, all the flocks. But this is what he's telling to God. Though he slay me, I will trust him. Fascinating. Fascinating. Bless you. And the fourth reason that we're not good trusting the Lord is that our worries are greater than our prayer requests. If I give you the paper right now to jot down the worry list, and if I give you another paper to jot down some of your prayer requests, you'll be surprised to see your worry list outweighs your prayer requests. Is that true? We are built to worry. It's not flesh. We worry. And we worry. And we worry. I remember my college year. After college, I volunteered at a hospital. When I was still living in Chicago, I volunteered in a general hospital. And then a month later, I volunteered at a children's hospital. Basically, my volunteer work is very simple. I go around each room and ask the patients, "Hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm volunteering right now. Is there anything that I can help you with? Helping in the sense that can I bring you water? Or can I bring someone to help you? That's all help that I can give to them. The children's hospital was very different. It was rather fun for me. Because basically what you do for that 2-hour volunteering hours is that you play with them. There's a game machines outside of their rooms, and you can bring in the game machines and you can pretty much play with them for 2 hours. I remember one time going into this room, and I immediately recognized this boy. I don't remember his name right now, but I know his age. He was 10 years old. The reason why I remember him is I've been volunteering every week, and he was always there. He was always there. So I asked the nurse, "Oh, is so-and-so okay?" And the nurse told me, "He's been here for at least 2 years. He has this weird chronic disease that I don't recall what it was. But he was there for 2 years." And this volunteer just going in with a smile, "Would you like to play with me?" And he would always respond with a great smile. "Yeah." My heart was broken when I heard that he was there for 2 years. And I asked the nurse, "Is he be okay?" And then the nurse told me, "We don't know yet." What fascinated me was whenever I visited him, he would always greet me with a great smile. It was very interesting because whenever I entered into that room after hearing all this news from nurse, my heart is broken. But he always responded to me with a great smile. How can you do that? How can you do that? I remember my hospital chaplaincy not too long ago in 2014. 2013, starting December, going into 2014, June. For 6 months, I was an intern, a hospital chaplaincy, in one small hospital in Summit, New Jersey. There, I was assigned to a floor, a 9th floor, I still remember. And that floor is for stroke and for elderly people who have been hospitalized. And that's my regular routine. I do the same thing. I knock on the door. "This is Chaplain Steve. How can I help you? Is there something that I can help you with?" And basically what you do is you chat with them if they need help. If they wanted to chat with me, I chat with them. One day, different interns have a different floors assigned. And one particular day, my friend was unable to come. And she wanted me to cover her floor. Her floor is the 3rd floor. And it was an oncology department. The oncology department deals with people with cancer. To be honest with you, in those hospital chaplaincies, there are days that you are on call. When you are on call, you have a beeper with you 24/7. And basically what you do is you're no longer assigned to your original floor, but you're assigned to an entire hospital. If they need help, if they need a chaplain, they will call me, and the beeper will beep. And that day, when the oncology department have called, there's this patient needed someone. I picked up the beeper, picked up the phone, and I ran immediately. And there, I met this woman. I don't recall her name. I entered into this room, and she greeted me with a great smile. I know that this is oncology unit. I know she must have either cancer or maybe a chemotherapy. But her appearance looked fine. But maybe I was mistaken by her great smile. She had such a beautiful smile that I was totally forgotten that I was in oncology unit. I walked in. Yes, how can I help you? And she said, can you pray for me? And I told her, yes, I can. But what is it that you want me to pray? And she said, pray that I may have peace. So I told her, sure. It was a very interesting moment for me. What an interesting reversal of roles. I walked in as a chaplain, as a pastor to her. And when I first saw her great smile, my role was totally changed. I was once supposed to have all the answers. I was supposed to bring the peace to her. But her peace, her smile touched me. How can she do that? And how can she offer me, how can she invite me for me to bring peace to her? It almost seems like she already had peace in her heart. How can she do that? I question. Still question. And then I looked, this 1 Samuel, this story doesn't mean for us anything if we just totally not paying attention to what the word is trying to tell us. But this story tells us about something, about trusting God. About trusting God, not worrying, but trusting. This happens to a David and his men who went out to a battle, Amalekite. They've been fighting. Their homeland, called Ziklag, was raided by different tribes, different Amalekite, had raided this land. They burned down this whole place, and they took their wives and their children as a captive. And then David and the men, after the battle, they came back to this homeland, Ziklag, and they saw this land totally burned down. Totally burned down. Nothing was there. They thought it was all burned down. They thought their wives and children were killed. But they couldn't find the cadaver. They couldn't find anything. The only thing that they saw was burned down land. All burned down. If that's not enough tragedy for David and his men, later they found out that their wives and children are taken as a captives. And for David, the king, the leader, if that's not only the tragedy that he's facing, later he found out that his man is trying to kill him, stoning him. His man is trying to kill him. Why? Because David led their men to a battle. And David caused everything here. This all tragedy. This tragedy that they're facing. And here is my favorite part. David was in great danger, for the people spoke of stoning him, because all the people were bitter in spirit for their sons and daughters. But listen to this. But David strengthened himself in the Lord, his God. But David strengthened himself in the Lord, his God. I know how he did it. I know how he did it, but it's hard. I know how David did it. In the midst of his tragedy, all the burned down land. His wives and his children are kept taken captives. And his man, whom he trusts, is now trying to kill him. But in the midst of this situation, David strengthened himself in the Lord. How? You know it. He trusts in the Lord. He trusted in him. I know it's so hard for us. I know it's so hard for us to trust God. But let me give you this one interesting imagery that you might take home with. I have my spiritual director, and he has been living in Europe and in America for a long time. When he was in Europe, he went to a circus, and he was fascinated to watch this circus, especially when there's a flyer, whenever they're going all the way up to this ladder, and they're doing the swings that they, trapeze, yes. And he watched over and over again, to the point where he actually followed the circus around. So he's been with them, with these people. And if you remember, if you ever watch the circus, there are two people involved in that. One, flyer, who will always do a somersault, He will jump out of that trapeze, and he or she is trying to reach out to who? Catcher. Right? Have you seen that? I watched it as a young kid. I watched it not in the actual circus, but on the TV. Fascinating. My spiritual director was very fascinated by this. So he went up to the flyers and the catcher. How can you do this? Aren't you afraid? And he's more fascinated by what the flyer had to say. I'm not doing anything. I don't do anything. I just jump off and I just stretch my arms. And I know that my catcher will be there to catch me. The spiritual director was fascinated by this. Wait, so you don't do anything? No, I don't. I just jump off and I just stretch my arms. And I know that my catcher will be there to catch me. And he was just fascinated by this. Wow, really? And I believe that's exactly what it means for us to trust God. Are you currently worried about something? Are you currently in a place of distress or sorrow? Why don't you be a flyer? Why don't you just jump off and stretch your arms, knowing the catcher, our amazing catcher, will be there to surely catch you. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own understanding. Such time as this, trust in Him with all your heart. Let us pray. Our great